Turn that damn juice on!
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. It is finally Friday, folks. You've made it to the weekend, and we're going to cruise you right on into it, where we're going to talk about everything going on in the sports world as fall camp is about halfway through for the Razorbacks. We'll get into some discussions on that, as well as the big college football story about Michigan and the NCAA and all that great stuff. We'll have a vibe checking of the chat presented by friends of Basis Health. We'll also get into some other topics as well. But fellas, it's Friday. How are the vibes heading into this weekend?
I'm not going to lie. Right as we were starting the show, I was kind of feeling a little meh going into today. But as soon as the intro started, it came to my attention that this soon-to-be-born child of mine started kicking like crazy. So I think he's a fan of your work, John. Good job. That turned things around for him. I'm doing good.
I'm doing great, too. Happy to have Curtis back on the show. We were mourning his absence yesterday. That's pretty much all we did for an hour and a half, was just mourn Curtis not being there with us. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that my lunch that I ate doesn't come back to bite me in the middle of the show. That's honestly my main concern right now.
It's a tough spot to be in, dude.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. I'd say if Andrew just goes missing off the camera for a bit, you know why. It was not an internet, or maybe, I don't know, maybe that's his excuse. He just unplugs the internet real quick and has an excuse, something like that. But
I'll just be gone for anywhere from 2 to 20 minutes. That's it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I think everybody can deal with that. But yeah, again, it's good to have it here, because 15 days away, 1-5, Ryan Mount, rest in peace. It's how many days away from Razorback football, and it's exciting. I know people are getting geared up for it, and we've heard from some coaches this week. No press conference today, but tomorrow will be another scrimmage, and then Sam Pittman, have a chance to hear from him, and of course we'll have Inside Arkansas Football on our live stream after the fact of recapping it and talking about it. So be sure to tap in for that. That'll happening tomorrow afternoon. Again, 12:30-ish, 1 o'clock-ish, somewhere in there. Just depends on when they come out and when it all goes there. But guys, I know, again, we'll get into a lot of things, but since it is about the halfway point of camp, it's almost like a recapping of what we've discussed, which has been a lot over the past couple of weeks dealing with Razorback fall camp. We've heard from pretty much every coach, every assistant coach. We have heard about who has stood out, and also haven't heard about who stood out in a negative way, because sometimes it doesn't get mentioned. Sometimes people do. But just overall, right now, where it stands at this midway point, just what have you learned? I mean, we knew going into fall camp a few things, but from what we've seen so far over the past couple of weeks, what has been the things that have stood out, and what are the things that we've learned the most about this Razorback football team?
I don't think they're as bad as the doom and gloomers might have felt they were, going throughout the course of the summer. There was a lot of, sheesh, man, 4-8, the wheels are going to fall off. I don't get that sense. I also don't get the sense that they're great, but I think they might be a little bit better than advertised. I'd say overall, just based on everything that we've heard, I probably feel better about the offense than I did coming into things. And I thought that they were going to be improved, but better than I anticipated. And I still have several question marks on the defensive side of the football, and I think time's going to tell what that winds up looking like. I know you guys had the defensive line discussion yesterday. I'm pissed that I didn't get to be in on that, because it's something I feel like I've been bringing up every single day throughout camp. And then the one day we get to talk about it, I had to be out. So I was like, dang, man, I almost talked about it on the pod at the Palace this morning anyway. It's like, I just need to rifle off some thoughts here real quick. But I didn't. It was basketball related. But I think that's where I'm at. I think they're going to be a little bit better than the most negative minded of those out there think they're going to be. But I'm certainly not throwing any parades thinking that they're about to pull off a 9-3 or 10-2 type of season.
Yeah, as always, I just find myself disagreeing with the entire fan base. Like, just whether you think they're going to be great, I think you're wrong. If you think they're going to be horrible, I think you're wrong. It's like, no matter what, I can find a way. But I pretty much agree with Curtis's sentiment that I feel better about the offense and worse about the defense. And how much? Maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 5%. I don't know. But I just feel like every offseason you have questions and you kind of want them to be answered. Really, they won't be answered in actuality until the season starts. But you can always get a sense throughout the offseason with the moves they make, with how spring ball goes, with things you hear from the coaches, things you hear from the staff, things you hear from players, just people around the program. And then, of course, fall camp is when it all kind of comes to a head and you find out what kind of football team you've got. I think if I go back to last year, we came out of spring ball and, we were very excited about Bobby Petrino. We were very excited about this offense, and they pretty much dominated spring ball the way that they dominated last week's scrimmage. And I think we went into fall camp thinking, hey, Arkansas is going to be pretty good offensively, and we had a lot of questions defensively. I felt like last year in camp, we got more questions answered about the defense, and then we actually started to think, are we sure this O-line's going to work? And it turned out, no, they didn't. Are we sure year one under Taylor Green and Bobby Petrino is going to be this smooth sailing thing? It really wasn't. And so I think last year, it's like we're almost in a bizarro reverse world this year where in fall camp, I feel like I've gained a lot of confidence about the offense. Things that I wanted to hear last year during fall camp and during some of those scrimmages was, hey, they're really starting to fire on all cylinders. Everyone's a cohesive unit. The offensive line is set. I think we're starting to hear some of that. And, we'll see it when the season starts, but I feel like the offensive line hierarchy is a lot more clear now. I mean, they've been running with the same starting 5 offensive line pretty much since camp started. I mean, it's been a Marion Harris there at right tackle. It's been Kobe Branham there at right guard, and that really hasn't changed. I don't know if they're still declaring it a competition, but there's not really a question to be had there. And I feel like the receiver room, is it going to be a world-beating receiver room? No, but I think we have a better understanding of who those top 3, 4, 5 guys are throughout fall camp. And on the defensive side, I think the secondary, there are just still a lot of questions, and D-line, still a lot of questions. And so I feel a little bit worse about the defense, better about the offense. That was my long-winded way of saying that. Overall, I'm kind of at the same win-loss record that I was a few weeks ago.
Well, this is going to show a little bit of nerdy stuff on my end, guys. But, you big J journalists, you guys know the word transcribing, okay? Well, I have this little software on my computer where anytime I've done with press conferences, it transcribes all the press conferences. And I went back and from all the coaches that we've heard from so far and players, I look for names. Can you name the player that was mentioned the most in the press conferences from players and coaches so far this fall camp?
I feel like if you're asking this question that it can't be Mike Washington, but that would have to, it's either Mike Washington or Justin Boone.
I'm going Mike Washington, but also Cam Ball maybe in that mix.
So it was a really close because you guys are both like right there. The number one name mentioned was Taylor Green, but okay, just barely by two more mentions was Taylor Green. Then you had Mike Washington, and then you had Cam Ball. Those were kind of the top 3. So you guys were essentially right there, and they were really close as far as the amount of times. And I didn't include questions of those guys, which maybe I should have, because then they may have been different. But the point is that when you talk about the names getting thrown around, Taylor Green getting his name mentioned a ton is not surprising at all because he's the quarterback and people are interested. Cam Ball, kind of the same thing because he's been around. He's a captain. He was at SEC Media Days, all that stuff. But to me, about fall camp, has truly just been Mike Washington. I know that there's been a lot of other things, and you guys brought it up, but the Mike Washington angle is one of the ones that maybe what I've learned, is what going into the year, I know who he was. I knew he came from New Mexico State. I knew he was a guy that was going to play. I knew all of these things, but what I did not know and what I was not expecting was for him to become fall camp hero, where everybody is talking about him. Everybody's mentioning him. So, again, when it comes to the overall units and the side of the balls and who's doing what, there's a lot of that discussion. But as far as individual players, though, I think this has just kind of been the Mike Washington show and has elevated my expectations, not for the team in general, going from, I was thinking 5 wins, but now 7 wins because of Mike Washington. No, but it's elevated my expectation for the offense in general and also for Mike Washington himself. Because if you hear about this guy constantly, I also went back. I didn't hear or know of any sort of bad thing or criticism of him or anything like that. It wasn't like, oh, this guy's fast, this guy has this, but he's not getting the playbook. Like, there was none of that. So because of that fact, I'm like, what I learned, or at least one of the biggest things I learned, is that Mike Washington is going to have to be that guy based on the expectations and based on the discussions and based on the praise that he has received, not only from coaches, but also from his player peers. And because of that, he's going to be the player I'm going to be watching the most at the start of the season, at least at the beginning.
Just out of curiosity, did you only go through the top 3 name mentioned Razorbacks in your trans. I didn't know how deep you went.
I can let me look at. Well, you filibuster and I'll look it up.
I will get to my other point. I was just wondering where maybe like Monty Harrison or something is on that list, but no, I do think that's very notable. That's definitely something that we've learned, and it was something that I needed to learn, honestly, because just given the whole tenor of the situation in the off season, and then kind of the up and downs and the injuries, and it's all that kind of stuff in spring ball. I had pretty much made up my mind that regardless of what I heard in camp, even if the script was flipped and we were hearing all this stuff about Braylon Russell instead of Mike Washington, I was going to kind of take it with a grain of salt, because I'm to the point, and it's not that I'm a hater or anything like that. I love Braylon. I hope he kills it, man, but I need to see it. And so now hearing on the flip side that you have a guy like Mike Washington kind of stealing the show, stealing the spotlight throughout the course of camp, has kind of emerged as who they feel is going to be a big time playmaker on this offense at the running back position. At least that makes me feel a lot better, a lot more comfortable about that situation, which I was kind of wondering for a while there. Could this potentially be kind of volatile here? Because sometimes you think about, oh, we got the platoon thing going on at running back and you don't really have a stud. Well, now to me, I look at it and I feel fairly confident that Mike Washington is going to be able to do some things. They're confident that he's going to be able to do some things. And then Braylon, I'm a little bit more comfortable with him being more of a wild card, to where, hey, if he winds up just being the big body dude that's getting you the extra yard when you need it on third down or in the red zone, okay, well, maybe you can live with that if you have a bona fide stud there in front of him. Or if he shows more of those flashes or more consistency where he's kind of the running back that they thought he was going to be with some of the flashes he had in his freshman season, then I think you really have an interesting dynamic there between those guys, Taylon Green with the legs, and it takes pressure off of Taylon Green, the passer, with this new cast of wide receivers who might be better than we thought. We'll see. Jury's still out on that. And it might take a little bit more pressure off of an offensive line that struggled to protect him last year. So I kind of like where they're at there.
Real quick. So I looked it up. It's kind of funny. I have the next four that were mentioned. So you had Taylon Green, number 1, then Mike Washington and Cam Ball.
Okay.
Did you name the player after that? This is kind of a funny one. I'll give you a hint. He's on the offensive side of the ball. And he's not a skill position player.
Carmona.
Nope. Kobe Branham. Kobe Branham has been the one.
That's good.
That's
that
been there. So Kobe's there, then Braylon Russell, then Monty Harrison, and then Omega Blank has been the one that have been mentioned the most. So
we're talking about what we learned. I'll just throw it in there real quick. I learned that Monty Harrison's going to play for this football team. I am a believer that he is going to play. I'm not saying he's going to get 800 yards or whatever, but he's going to see legitimate snaps on the field and factor in a wide receiver.
Yeah, well, Curtis, I think you touched on a very important thing, because the only thing you can actually learn in fall camp is how do these coaches and players actually feel about the team. It's all about how they view each other. And a lot of times that gets lost in translation. A coach comes to the press conference and says, hey, we really feel good about Justice Boone. And then fans hear that, and now they have this expectation, hey, Justice Boone, he's going to have at least 6 sacks. He's going to be our primary pass rusher. He's going to do, and they start, you start kind of thinking, how is he going to fit in the SEC? How is he going to do against competition? And really, I understand why that happens, but we can't figure that out. And a lot of times it's, in fall camp, again, you don't get to play other SEC teams. You just get to see your players against each other. And so when you talk about Mike Washington and kind of what we've learned about him, again, we can't forecast how many yards he's going to have in the SEC, how he's going to stack up against certain competition, but we can figure out where does he fit in this hierarchy. And I think if what we've learned in fall camp is he is number 1 and it's not a 1A, 1B situation, he is the guy and everything is going to be kind of around him. And it seems like they're going to find as many creative ways they can to use him offensively. And I think that's something that we definitely have learned. And I think we've kind of learned a little bit better understanding of who's starting, who's playing where, really at every position. We know what the hierarchy is. We still don't know how these guys are going to stack up. But I think it's an important start to understand this team. If you're going to cover it the way you need to and you're going to understand what's at stake here and what we need to have happen throughout the year, you have to understand who the coaches are putting their trust in. And Mike Washington, of course, he's earned everybody's trust. Hell, he's earned our trust a little bit. He has definitely done that. And I think there's a few other guys like Justice Boone that fit that same description.
Yeah, and I'd be curious, and I'm sure maybe there's some software out there for that, but I'd be curious if there was a way to break down of all the players that have been mentioned in some sort of algorithm where it talks about how many compliments or positive things were said, how many things were said in maybe a critical negative way, and then maybe just ones that either weren't mentioned or not saying one way or the other, just to see of what's the vibe like there, and which one of the players that kind of got thrown around. Because I feel like, if you're going to the opposite end of the spectrum, like David Oki, I feel like is one of those players that's gotten mentioned quite a bit, and almost like this is a guy that needs to step up. This is a guy that's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. But then there's a guy like, and I'm not trying to call out anybody, but like a Courtney Crutchfield, where it's like, okay, we haven't heard really positive things overly, but then it hasn't been anything specifically critical or negative. It's just kind of been almost an afterthought. What was it? Bobby Petrino the other day was going through literally every wide receiver from here to kingdom come. And then he's like, I hope I didn't forget anybody. Courtney Crutchfield, that guy. So it's kind of, that's what I think is always the fascinating part about it. Do I read too much into it, or is it something that means anything? Maybe not, but I do think it's always very telling if a coach is given a general question and what they choose, or at least in the order they choose to mention certain players, kind of gives you a good indication of what comes to mind first, which means what they've seen. I think it's all just a very reactionary thing that you can gauge from some of these coaches.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Because this happens in one of two ways during camp, particularly in these press conferences, where either you get asked about a player specifically, and then you're kind of reading the body language and how, the question is answered. Does he light up? Does he get a big smile? Or is it the stock coach speak type of answer, which is kind of what you get with Crutchfield there. Or like you said, if it's just a general question, hey, who's popping? Who's standing out at this spot? What do you like about this position? And then what names are getting brought up there? I think that's a really good point. You mentioned Crutchfield there. You mentioned David Oki is the guy who's kind of been brought up a couple times. It's like, hey, we need him to come along now. Somebody, let me actually pull up we might as well get to this right now. It's kind of what we're talking about, but Transplanted Texas says, bigger question, what name or names not getting thrown around? Is it kind of a foregone conclusion here that maybe he either starts, or he's certainly going to be expected to help and play a lot of snaps there? We sure haven't heard much about Ian Jafard.
Nope.
And you've heard a lot about Cam Ball, and it's like, oh, David Oki's got to pick it up. Danny Saili's lost a bunch of weight, and so we're excited about the progress he's made. We just had an entire press conference with Deke Adams, and Ian's name was mentioned one time just in passing. He wasn't asked about him. He didn't bring him up. And you can choose whether you want to be concerned about that, or you just think, okay, they just feel good about it. I don't know if that's the case, but Arkansas he has to be a positive asset and a factor on that defensive line, or they're in big, big trouble. So I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't heard more about him one way or the other.
100%. I thought for sure he would at least get can you talk about Ian Jafard yesterday when they were talking to Deke Adams or something like that. But I think you're 100% right. I think John and I were talking about that yesterday, that we were like, man, it is kind of just bizarre that, again, it's not that we've heard anything bad or good. It's just have not heard anything. He's a guy that every fastball depth chart you look at, he's either with the ones or twos at defensive tackle. And most of the time he's lining up next to Cam Ball as that number one defensive tackle. Him and Saili, I imagine, are going to split some time there. But both of those guys, and we've heard a lot about Saili, weirdly enough. We've heard his name floated around a good bit. And so what does that mean? And Ian Jafard is kind of a fascinating one, because he played as a true freshman at Arkansas, got actual reps, and was a guy that kind of came to campus and was, ready to compete from a physicality standpoint. And you just kind of think, okay, well, if he's playing as a freshman, that means that as a junior, he'll be, XYZ. And I don't, it's kind of, not determined yet what that's going to look like. And I think last year he's a guy that got some valuable experience, but didn't do a whole lot with that experience. And again, that's not a knock. He's a young guy. You're playing in the SEC. You got to figure it out. But I think you're 100% right that for this defensive line to work, he really needs to be a eater of blocks, a guy that is making some plays. And it doesn't have to be from a pass rush standpoint necessarily from your interior guy, but there has to be some type of force there. And so I think with this defensive tackle situation that already doesn't have a ton of depth, David Oki is that number 3 guy there at tackle, and we've heard negative things about him. And so it's like that's going to require Jafard and Saili to play a ton of snaps. And it didn't necessarily go well last year when they played those snaps. And so what's that going to look like? I think that's one of the biggest questions that we haven't gotten answered yet in fall camp, and we'll see if we do.
We'll continue on to the discussion and get everybody's comments on this, because, again, we're talking about fall camp being the midway point of it. But I want to remind everybody that here on Inside Arkansas, we're brought to you by our friends over at Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas. I had a great time on Wednesday there at the Hot Springs Marina. there in Hot Springs at Lake Hamilton, hanging out and hearing more about Freedom Boat Club. And it's a great spot to where basically if any of you want to have the lifestyle of owning a boat without actually owning a boat, this is what it's all about. They have locations in Arkansas at Greers Ferry Lake, Lake Hamilton, as well as on the river in Little Rock. And they'll have more locations coming up here soon that we're excited to tell you about. And they have a great deal going on right now. They're keeping it going where if you text Inside Arkansas, the words Inside Arkansas to 501-270-6477, that's Inside Arkansas to 501-270-6477. You get 50% off your initiation fee with Freedom Boat Club. You can also check out their website at freedomboatclubar.com. That's Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas. So yeah, when talking about the things that like with Arkansas and the players that may or may not have stood out and everything, we mentioned what stood out and maybe what didn't. And there may be some other things that you guys want to mention too, but I'm curious, just like, has anything changed in the big picture for you from what you've heard from fall camp? I mean, there may have been some specifics, but as far as what you think about this team, I think you even mentioned it, Curtis, in the beginning of saying you think that maybe the team's not going to be as bad as maybe what people maybe initially thought. But has anything that you've seen or heard, good or bad, changed the big picture of this football team going into this season at this point in time for you?
No, not really. And I think a big part of it is not that we haven't heard, good things, not that we haven't identified, some areas of concern or whatever. To me, there's just such a level of unknown with so many new players on the roster that I just need to see them against other other competition before I think we can really get a good handle on this group. And again, I'm just afraid we're staring at average here. Yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. I don't think this is a bad football team. Like I've never really been under that impression that they're, when I think about bad football teams, I look at Mississippi State and I look at Kentucky. Like I see them and I look at their schedule and I'm really like, dude, this legit might be a 3-4 win type of deal. I don't think it's like that. I just don't know that we're talking about anything other than right where we don't want to be and where people were so pissed off about this program being. That's kind of where I'm at with it. And no, nothing has changed my mind on that big picture. Maybe I feel a little bit better in some spots. Maybe I feel a little bit worse in others, but overall, I don't think there's anything that's really, I try to avoid saying move my needle because apparently I say that a lot, but I think that's where I'm at. The needle is staying put. It's in place.
I like that. Well, Curtis, I think you're right in that, like, I don't think there's anything drastic that has changed. And I just don't think, like, whatever you felt about the team 4 months ago, you probably feel about the same way there. And there's a lot of people who feel like, hey, 4 months ago, they thought Arkansas was 9-3 and they still think Arkansas is 9-3. And then same for 3-9. I think there's a lot of people who have just, are not even trying to see anything good with this football team. If I can play devil's advocate, that's another cliche that we throw around a lot. If I'm looking for any type of silver lining and anything that I feel like has actually changed, and again, this is all just kind of based on the tea leaves of fall camp, I feel like Arkansas may have an actual identity offensively. And I think that's important. And how good will they be? I don't know. But I think when I look at the defense, it's not only that I don't know who's going to contribute at key spots or what the hierarchy is going to be in the secondary or who's going to emerge the D line. Do they have depth? I just look at that group and I'm like, man, they don't have any identity whatsoever. Like, I don't think they have we don't know what their base defense is going to be. We don't know if they're going to have a 3-man front, a 4-man front, if they're going to play 3 safeties, if they're going to play 3 linebackers. Like, we really don't know. And it sounds like they experimented a lot on Saturday and didn't have great results. And now, again, what I'm about to say about the offense, it's important to note that context, that the defense doesn't have identity and they may be going up against a very bad unit. But I think when you look at this Arkansas offense, again, O-line, you're very solid on the left side, and you've got some young guys on the right side. How will that end up being? I don't know. But this team seems to know that. It's like you still at least know. It's when you're going into war, when you're going into battle, you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And I think that's one thing that this offense under by Petrino should have a decent idea. And Mike Washington, of course, they feel like he's a stud. That's something you can build your identity around. I think the receivers, I think it's very possible Arkansas has a average at best receiver room and likely maybe even a little bit below average. But again, does this receiver room need to be very good for this offense to do what they need to do, for them to have that identity, which I've said all offseason, I think they're going to be a lot more dependent in the run game. And I'm typically a guy who's like, hey, air it out as much as you can because the analytics and the numbers say it's more efficient. But I really think this Arkansas offense needs to zag the other way and just be very run heavy, lean on Taylon Green and his expertise and his dual threat abilities. You got something there with Mike Washington. You got young offensive linemen on the right side who are very large. You know, a guy like Kobe Branham who has the physicality. I think that, you know, the more you run the ball, the less pressure you have on your receivers and on your young offensive line. And so I think that's the one thing I think you maybe could make an argument for is that this offense, how good will they be? We'll see. But I think they do at least have a better understanding of who they are. But at the same time, I think they're going up a defense that has holes all over the place. And so it's kind of tough to really buy into it too much.
Well, the thing about this team, and I went on a Paul Feinbaum show to discuss a little bit about this, but just to let everybody know, my feelings on the team and what I kept kind of using it as a scenario that could be likely is that this team overall actually be better, but because of the schedule, they may have a worse record than what they did a year ago. Now, I think after seeing some of the fall camps, and it's not like I've been sitting here night and day reading up on every single opponent that Arkansas is facing this year and how their fall camps are going. I haven't been doing that. But I think when you kind of gather maybe some of the big storylines or headlines from some of the other fall camps of teams that Arkansas is going to be facing, it suddenly kind of changes my feeling a little bit to where, okay, not saying that Arkansas is going to win these games, but for example, that game against Tennessee on the road that I had for months pretty much is like, oh, that's an L. It's like, well, Tennessee's kind of having some struggles here. You know, they've been having a quarterback problem, and the fans over there at Tennessee are not high on them. So I was like, okay, well, that's kind of a little bit different. You think about, maybe you thought you were already going to beat them anyways, but Auburn, and how, geez, I don't think I've seen an SEC program get such big or little things blown up to storylines. I mean, everyone was talking about Hugh Freeze throwing his visor because of the quarterback situation there. It's like, all right, so maybe there's some problems there. But point is, maybe there are some teams that Arkansas is going to be facing this season that I thought were going to be better than what at least has been viewed in the fall camp side of things. And so maybe that's where it opens up for Arkansas to have an opportunity. But to your point, Curtis, like you opened up and said, because I agree, it's about staring at average. It's about, even if I think about this team and have some positivity or just some optimism, I mean, the only thing I've ever thought about, guys, so far this fall camp, and it entered my mind and went out as quickly as it went in, was 7-5. Nope. No. Hold on. Let's not get crazy here. And I'm sorry, but 7-5 is average. So it's like, even in the most optimistic viewpoints, I just can't get myself to jump on board to be that level, make the jokes of, oh, once you get close to fall camp, you're going to say 9-3. No, I still don't feel any differently as far as the wins and losses go. I may feel differently about Arkansas's team in general. I may feel differently about the teams they're facing, but it's still just hard for me to have those two things impact me enough to say, all right, 3 weeks ago I said 5-7, but now I'm feeling 8-4. There's just not enough that's gone on for me for that.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody could do that. Like, could really, and honestly, if you go the other way either, I don't know how you could do that.
Yeah, I have a hard time with reading too much into other, like Hugh Freeze got pissed about a play with Jackson Arnold. I would imagine, what if you think Auburn fans were listening to, the Action Network betting podcast, and it was like, oh shit, Arkansas's coordinators are getting in fistfights out at the scrimmage. Boy, it doesn't sound like things are going swimmingly over there. Oh wow, I was listening to Sam Pittman's post scrimmage press conference. Sounds like the defense gave up 1,400 yards in a little bit over an hour. Ooh boy, it looks like they might be really struggling over there. You know what I'm saying? So right. I think I hear that because I was doing the same thing where I'm like, ooh boy, I don't know about this Jackson Arnold thing. Might be something to that. I was watching the clips of Marcel Reed attempting to throw a football, and I was like, might be something to that. But you could flip the exact same script on Arkansas and come to the same conclusions if you're another fan base. So I'm kind of with you, John, to where, man, I see it, but I'm not going to let that influence me too much, because I know if I was covering a different team, I would be looking at Arkansas doing like the exact same thing. We hear and we see, and it's true. Like, you see Arkansas out there on the field at practice, and you're like, man, they look like an SEC team or whatever. Man, this guy looks really good. Or wow, this dude's athletic, whatever. And if you went to the other 15 teams in the SEC and sat at their practice for 20 minutes or watched one clip of you'd be like, wow, yeah, they look good. Man, they look big. They're fast. They're athletic. So it's so hard to not get sucked into that vacuum. I get it 100%.
I also think in college football these days, it's easier than ever to acquire talent. And it's easier than ever for a lot of these SEC teams to figure out some of their issues and to, bring in talent. And I think when because again, if we separate from fall camp, because when you're in fall camp, nothing else matters. It's whatever happened in fall camp. That's all that you can really think about. And I've been doing the same thing. I was actually reading about Tennessee's quarterback battle, and it seemed for a while like, oh, hey, they've settled on Aguilar. But then Heupel the other day was like, no, still very much a 3-man race. We're still getting 3 guys getting reps with the ones. I'm like, wow, it's kind of crazy. But I look at the offseason, and again, as much as we're doing this with other teams in fall camp, how many teams in the portal, when the portal cycle was going on, Auburn loaded up, LSU loaded up, even Oklahoma loaded up to an extent. And you're looking around, and I think teams were probably looking at Arkansas and we're like, damn, Arkansas didn't make any moves in the portal. And so, again, we could definitely play that game. And so I think I do get the sense, though, that there are some teams in the SEC that I don't want to say they're vulnerable, but we're less confident that they're going to be very good. Like Ole Miss last year, I don't know what, they ended up about pretty much what most people expected. There was no question last offseason about whether or not Ole Miss was going to be good. Obviously, Georgia, they fit that description. Tennessee, even. I feel like there was no question last offseason that they were going to be good. And hell, that wound up being one of Arkansas's wins. I think there are less SEC teams that fit that description that, like, we know without a shadow of a doubt are going to be good. But again, Arkansas very much fits that criteria of, like, I don't know how anybody could be super confident that Arkansas is going to have all their P's and Q's ready to go. And so, again, it's a chaotic time of year. It's a fun time of year to be looking around and playing that comparison game. But I don't think anybody should be super confident based on anything they're seeing elsewhere, because Arkansas's got plenty of questions themselves that they got to figure out.
Do we agree, John, going back to what you were saying, do we at least agree, though, that, how do I want to phrase this? You would rather have the massive questions at, defensive line, like the situation in Arkansas, which you wouldn't want to have them regardless, but you would rather have them there than you would at quarterback. I think that's what makes, I think that's part of the when people are looking at some of these other SEC teams and saying, well, maybe they're not going to be quite as good as people think they are. A lot of that is because of, it's like, well, what exactly is going on there at quarterback? At least Arkansas has that part of the equation figured out, and it's probably the most important spot on the field.
No, I think so. Because again, this is me showing my bias towards it, but the best coach on that staff is Bobby Petrino. I think we can all probably get on board with that. He's the best coach on that staff. And if you have the best coach, it's like, okay, well, what's the most important position? Quarterback. And he has a quarterback. And it's like those things kind of coming together. It's what people rest their laurels on to try to have some hope and optimism for this year. Because as I said before, if you didn't have, if Petrino left and went, what was it? They got rumored to be the head coach at Charlotte or whatever for that quick second. If he would have gone on to Charlotte and Taylor Green would have transferred and you had some new up and coming OC now or a new quarterback, guys, I don't know. Like as much as people may think it's doom and gloom, I don't know what it would look like if you did not have that. It may be something to where you think it could be historically bad. So I think so. If there was one thing that I want to have on this team without questions, without problems, without issues, without mystery, it is the quarterback situation and with Bobby Petrino, because it's just, I mean, again, you don't want questions on anything, but that's at least the one thing that I'll always rest my laurels on is fine. And so because of that, I'm good. I'm good.
I will say, I remember, so the one time, well, I don't want to say one time, at least in my professional life, the one time I really overestimated Arkansas football was the 2023 season. And part of why I did that was the KJ Jefferson was a returning senior and, was coming, he's a preseason all SEC guy. And I looked around the league and said, yeah, our quarterback's better than that guy. Our quarterback's better than that guy. And I gave a lot of benefit of the doubt to the transfer portal class, where I was like, hey, they had a really good transfer portal class last year. This one's not as good on paper, but I'm sure it'll be fine, right? The Dan Enos offensive coordinator thing, I bought all in on that. And I think I picked Arkansas to go like 7-5, 8-4 in 2023 when they ended up going, was it 4-8, 5-7?
4-8.
4-8 they win. Yeah, that was a rough one. And so I definitely think it's a dangerous game. But I will say, if you're going to tell me that you're going to do something, you need to be able to explain to me how you're going to do something. And so, hey, if there's a Hog fan that's like, hey, I think this team's going 8-4, and their premise is, if your premise is that Arkansas has everything figured out at every position, you can't sell me at all. Like I'm going to firmly disagree. But if your premise is, hey, I think Arkansas has more stability at quarterback, they have more stability with their coaching staff, and I think they're going to be able to outscore some of these teams. And we talked about how they have issues on the D line, issues at secondary, and they're saying, hey, I think this offense is just going to be, better than last year's. I think they're going to be more efficient, better in the red zone. And I just think Taylor Green and Bobby are going to be able to outscore some teams. I might disagree, but I can at least get behind the premise. But I think it's dangerous when when fans look at other teams and they're like, oh, well, they have question marks here. And it's like, yeah, but you have question marks there and you have question marks there. But I do, listen, if you want to build the premise and build your hope around Arkansas is a really, should have a pretty good offense on paper, has a quarterback with a ton of experience, one of the more dynamic ones, year 2, Bobby, all that jazz. And we just think we're going to be able to outscore teams. Well, I can see the path for that, but you have to at least acknowledge the question marks that do exist. And that's really where it's not that I'm going to throw water on any sunshine pumping, but you have to do your sunshine pumping with acknowledgement of the issues that are very obviously there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll continue to talk about this and we'll get to your chats, folks. But I want to remind everybody that we're brought to you by our friends over at Hickey and Hole Law, because they are all about helping you out and making sure that you face some of the most important cases with someone. Never face them alone, because Hickey and Hole, they are here to provide you with persistent and diligent representation to guide you through the entire process, especially when it comes to divorce and custody cases. Those are the ones that can get the most messy and means the most because it's dealing with family. Sometimes kids are involved. It can be quite a huge thing. Well, don't do it alone. Let Hickey and Hole help you out, as they have offices across the entire state of Arkansas, in Fayetteville, in Fort Smith, in Little Rock, and in Mena. Give them a call today and get started with getting your life right and getting everything in order at 479-434-2414. That's 479-434-2414. Or you can check out their website at hickeyandhole.com. Also scan that QR code right there on your screen. It's Hickey and Hole Law. Things are about to get better. Okay, guys, I don't know if you found this as funny as I did, but I posted this yesterday because we're talking about Bobby Petrino and everything. This is something that came up on I was talking about memories of old. This fun little story about this. This was posted. I'm trying to remember. Were you guys covering football when the press conferences and everything were held in the north end zone before it got redone down low with Bielema? I don't know if you ever remember that, but there used to be the film room that was there. The Broyles complex had a film room, and that's where Bielema would have his press conference. This was in 2015, and this sign was still hanging up huge in that film room, and it wasn't Bielema's. It was Bobby Petrino's. They just never took it down. But anyways, I read through this, and because I remember taking a picture of it, thinking it was so cool. And then they ended up, I think the SIDs put a big poster or a big white piece of paper over this to be we don't want people seeing this. I'm like, just take it down instead. Either way, I just thought it was fun. If anybody wants to know what Bobby Petrino is all about when it comes to his offense, especially, is this right here. I'm not going to read it all because it's a lot, but tempo to the top is the number 1 point. Number 2, recognize, anticipate, and defeat pressure. Number 3, execution. And number 4, in bold red, wear their ass out. And then at the end, step up and ring the bell with the things surrounding it of the fundamentals, intensity, toughness, and speed. I don't know why. I just read this and I'm like, this is very coach cliche and all that stuff. But that just was yeah, those are good things. And those are things that, with Bobby Petrino being back, I'm like, people who want to know about the offense or about the mentality of what makes him so good, or one of the things, I think that's always just kind of a fascinating representation of all right, this is what they make sure everybody knows a little bit about. I don't know if this is still hanging up. Maybe they brought it back out, but I don't know. I just thought that was pretty fascinating just to kind of read it all. I'm sure Curtis had the same thing up in his office when he was a coach as well.
No, that is very cool, man. I hadn't seen that thing before. I love that. Love number 4. Big fan of it. I need to get a copy of that.
Yeah, I want that in my office.
I want it right behind me. Exactly.
Yeah. Almost I was reading this, and also too, Chris Gregg retweeted it and stuff because he was saying, what was it? The keep it 100 emoji. I don't know if that's actually what it's called because I'm showing my age, but that's what he had. Also, some other receivers retweeted and liked it. So I'm like, all right, well, hopefully they bring that back this year. because it is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to see. So, anyways, just to share that as far as the Petrino, I can't get enough Petrino love, and I know it's probably weird, but I'm always going to be that guy that does those things. So, but also because I know we'll get to the chat here in just a little bit, but for you guys too, because we're talking about Talon, like if I'm curious of what will become of like Bobby Petrino and what will become of this situation. Because say if Sam Pittman's no longer the coach after this year, whether it's because he gets fired, whether because he retire or anything like that, I think it's just going to be fascinating to think of what happens with Petrino and Talon Green and, you know, how they get remembered, how they get remembered that tenure. Is it something that sticks with people? Is it something that they move on from? I don't really know, but that's kind of the thing that kind of gets into my mind a little bit of like, you know, there's a chance that after this season, the things that you maybe got used to, or maybe were excited about, or maybe you're curious of them coming back, like with Petrino, what's going to become of it once the season's over and if everything goes away? It's going to be sad.
To answer your question, John, if Pittman gets fired at the end of this season, meaning they went 4-8 or whatever, Talon Green and Bobby Petrino will be the answer to a trivia question in 37 years. Like they will not be remembered for anything. You know what I mean? It'll be a thing that we're like, oh crap, y'all remember when Petrino was the OC for a couple of years? Like it'll be a thing that we forgot happened. We just think about it in the moment. But I think if Pittman does, if they really do stink this year, Pittman gets fired, it will not be a thing that we talk about ever again, really.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Well, and also too, just to your point, I agree. But it's also going to be so funny that if the offense does pretty well and Talon Green does pretty well, but yet Pittman still moves on, guys, during that coaching search that we're going to be having, all right, we need to get a coach that'll keep Bobby Petrino. You think they'll keep Petrino? You think they'll keep Petrino on? You think they'll do it? It's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. But, again, that's just it's what we prepare for. It's what we get ready for. But let's go ahead and get into your chats. It's presented by our friends over at Basis Health, where they are changing the way healthcare is delivered by providing mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home. A doctor will come to your home for urgent care, primary care, IV hydration, and so much more. It is Basis Health. They're here for you when and where you need them the most. You can learn more at basishealth.org today. Shout out to our guy Dre for being a partner with us here at Inside Arkansas. All right, so a few of your chats, get to your super chats. Really appreciate it. Look, Quinn's back. Hey, Quinn.
Yes.
Nice to see you, man. Appreciate the super chat, man. He says, I'm up in here now after a couple weeks of being MIA and have been on a bit of a heater on X. My brother in Christ, you're always on a heater on X. I don't know what you mean. It's just like, I've just been doing that. You're always on one on X, man.
You live on a heater, bro. I was hoping that Quinn was going to come in here because I just saw him comment on one of my tweets. I put the ESPN bowl projections for the Birmingham Bowl, and one of the guy has Arkansas in it against Tulane, and then the other one is projected Auburn in Birmingham. And Quinn was like, "What the hell is this?" So
yeah.
good
I wanted
stuff.
to bring that up, by the way, too, real quick, just since
Yes.
you brought it up.
I mean, only one of those teams went to a bowl last year, right?
Is that right? Did Auburn make a bowl last year? I don't know.
I could be wrong. I do not believe Auburn went to a bowl. So
they did. Yeah, I don't actually remember, but
Quinn may be offended by the Birmingham Bowl projection, but I got to say, I mean, it would be an improvement. It would show upward trajectory in Hugh Freeze's tenure.
Yeah,
and one of those teams whipped the other team's ass. Also, we should point that out. I'm just trying to rile Quinn up. We've actually been calling for Quinn for weeks. We've been talking about him a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad he's back. I truly am. Do you think the Birmingham Bowl for Auburn is like the equivalent of the Liberty Bowl for Arkansas? It's like nobody's super thrilled about whatever bowl they make for going 6-6, but it's like the one that's right next door that it's like, oh, you get into that one by default. It's not an exotic location. It's nothing different. I wonder if he feels that way because I was kind of pulling for the Birmingham Bowl last year.
I think it'd be worse.
I think also think, Curtis, like in a big picture sense, it's very similar for sure. I think in this particular season, if Hugh Freeze went to the Birmingham Bowl, I do not think Hugh Freeze would be employed.
I don't think Hugh Freeze would coach in the Birmingham Bowl.
Whereas if Arkansas went to Liberty Bowl, I think Pittman would probably still be employed.
Yeah. Because also, too, I think it'd be worse because at least with Arkansas going to the Liberty Bowl, it's not like far away or anything. But I think that there's like, Hog fans that are in Memphis or down there, maybe in Nashville or something like that to where they can make the trip. But it's like in Birmingham, it's in the smack in the middle of Alabama. And anybody that there's not like, there's some fans over here in, Leeds, Alabama that couldn't normally go to an Auburn game, but they can go to Birmingham. It's like, no, it's still right there, but I feel like it could be worse. I would love to know the turnout for what it would be for Auburn if they were in the Birmingham Bowl. Like, I would love to know how many fans showed up, but I will say that if, listen, this is just a projection, but if it ended up being Arkansas and Boston College instead in the Birmingham Bowl, that would be the most excited I would be for an absolutely god-awful matchup in a bowl game that Arkansas has been a part of in my life, because it would be new. It would be a team they've never played really before, not in my lifetime. And no one would care. No one would watch. No one would go, but it would make me so excited to watch it.
And Arkansas would probably win by 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
So I think I'm with you.
Yep. That's funny. Would you rather play them or Tulane? I guess Andrew, he's a big Louisiana guy. He may want to have the Tulane love there.
I would rather play Boston College, but
yeah. Now Boston College, is that still Bill O'Brien?
Yes.
I would rather beat Bill O'Brien, honestly.
That's true.
Bill O'Brien, one of the biggest arseholes on this planet. Tulane has an intriguing head coach. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Quinn also said, appreciate Super Chat. He goes, so going 6-6 this season would be most likely get freeze fired. Which
I think it would probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Ace also appreciate Super Chat, my man. Says, heard clip talking about at the SEC could have the biggest flip in history with 4 to 7 coaching positions coming open. Would like to hear your takes on this.
Okay.
Well, I'll say this real quick. I actually don't think it's going to be as many as what people think. There are going to be some, yes, because there were none last year, which is unheard of. Like, that is just unheard of. But, I think, what was it, the year that Pittman was hired? I think there were 5 vacancies. You would have to have, that would mean what? Oklahoma, Auburn, Arkansas, like Kentucky. I mean, who else
at LSU? Napier gets fired.
Yeah, that's 6 right there. So I mean, you would have to have all the teams where their coaches are on the hot seat be awful enough to get fired. And I just don't know if it. Now there could be a coach that retires, every coach that leaves for another job. But as far as firings go, I just have a hard time believing that 6 coaches in the SEC are going to get fired this season.
I would agree with that as well. I mean, hell, we were kind of thinking last year might be like a big coaching turnover year. There were 0, and I think there's going to be more than 0. Like, somebody's getting fired. But mathematically speaking, with some of these coaches that play each other, I just don't think there could be that many. I bet there will be 3 or 4, though, if I had to guess, like maybe 3. 3 sounds like a good number. But to answer your question, Ace, that's a big part of our discussion last year when we were having the conversation of, hey, what's Arkansas going to do? Big picture. That was a big part of the case, is that last year was kind of a dream scenario in terms of if anybody had fired their coach in the SEC last year, they would have been the only team in the SEC with a vacancy. You wouldn't have competed with anybody. I would imagine it's not going to be that high of a number, but you are going to be competing with somebody for a head coach if any SEC team fires their coach this year.
Yep. Also, yes, because it's a super chat. Got to read from Quinn. He says, that's why I'm so nervous for this season. We have a bad year and Freeze gets fired. I think it'll set us back 10 years. This year has to be good. Well, here's my thing, Quinn. And I'm using it as an Arkansas example. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that if you fire a certain coach, it's going to set you back 10 years. They said that about Houston Nutt. They said that about who was the, like, there's some people that were even saying it about Mike Anderson. As far as that goes, more often than not, when anybody feels that way, it's just not true. It's just not true, man. Like, it's the same people that probably say, oh, you got to keep a coach because of the recruiting class. Like, no, just if he's the guy, he's the guy. And if he's not, he's not. But it's up to you to make the right decisions and hire good coaches and keep, setting yourself back 10 years. I just don't think that's going to happen if Hugh Freeze gets fired at Auburn this year.
That's one of the best takes John's had on this program, I feel like. I hate when people say that. And I'm not hating on Quinn, but because you hear that thrown around a lot where they're like, oh man, it's gonna do this. Hell, Chad Morris did not set Arkansas back 10 years. Chad Morris was the worst head coaching hire of all time. Even he did not set Arkansas back 10 years. That doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Like, Arkansas hasn't won a national title since then, but it's like Arkansas's lack of success since then is not because he set them back. You know what I mean? Like, they went 9-4 2 years after he was gone. It's not like he set them back. They just, again, like you said, John, it's up to you to make decisions after that. In this day and age of college football, I think the most you could be set back is like 2 years.
What I'll say for Auburn's situation here, though, is like they're almost already set back half a decade. Like, this didn't start with Hugh Freeze. It started with Brian Harsin and that entire disaster there. Then you parlay it into the next hire. That goes south. And then you parlay it into another. Then all of a sudden, you're looking at, is it a situation where, oh, damn, this, whoever the next guy is, what are we going to do? We got to give him 3 years to get it figured out, because then you really are looking at it. I don't think from like this point wherever Hugh Freeze leaves it. It's going to be a decade-long process or whatever, but the program in general might be set back 10 years from where it was and where they wanted it to be because of all the nonsense that's gone on there.
That's a good point. It's always a collection of decisions. You know what I mean? It's like there's never one singular decision that can change the course that we're actually about. Yeah, when you start combining it, you can. And Auburn definitely has dug themselves a little bit of a hole to where, to Quinn's point, there is so much pressure on Auburn this year. I just think they have more pressure on them than any other SEC team. I mean, there's no other SEC team that could not afford to have a good season. I think Auburn might be, because I mean, even Arkansas, if they don't have a good season, it would suck, but half the fan base would be thrilled about it because they'd get a change. So it's I don't envy Auburn fans, honestly.
No.
And then real quick about the Auburn deal too. I feel that, Auburn's the best coach they've had in 25 years has been Tommy Tuberville, as weird as it is. Like that, they just, Gene Chizik was not a good head coach. He was not a good head coach, but you had Cam Newton, and that's what helped him out. And I think Malzahn did some really good things. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's like if you snowball yourself into a position to where, bad hire after bad, that's what gets you in the problematic area. And that's why I tell everybody that if you got a golden goose as a head coach, do whatever it takes to keep him. Do whatever it takes to keep him. Because I'm telling you right now, not to use the basketball example, but if Arkansas did not hire John Calipari, it looked like it could be a disastrous thing, or at least something that's not going to be to the level it needs to be. So it's like, do whatever you can. If you know the coach is good, do whatever you can to keep him, because Arkansas fans, especially, they've seen the other side. They've seen what it's like. Still why I feel like Bobby Petrino shouldn't have been fired in the first place, but we won't get into that. We won't get into that. Hey, shout out to Barbara, says hello from Alaska, my Alaska cruise. Okay.
About that.
Yeah.
This is big time. Good for you.
Yeah. I read that wrong at first. I thought it said hello from Alaska, my cuties. I am sorry.
Might as well have said that.
Yeah. But I was going to get hyped. It's like we needed that compliment. We needed that compliment today. Some other chats too that we'll get into. Let's see. Yuri String says Curtis was real for the state outline take on Pod at the Palace this morning. Always looks bad. Glad we got rid of it in bud. Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, absolutely hate when they do that. It just always seems like generic and halfway done. I just don't like it. I didn't like it when Arkansas did it. I don't like it when anybody does it. But I do like when Georgia does it with the bulldog as a little silhouette. I thought that was sick. But anyway.
And also, too, if you remember, Curtis, I didn't like it, but they didn't even make it the state outline. They were like, we're not going to put the little river Ritz. It was just like a straight line.
Yeah, exactly. It's like knockoff. It's generic, man. It's like if you get the like the little puzzles where you have to place the states in the right spot and there's no detail to them. I'm with you. I don't like it.
It'd be like, John, you get 10 seconds to draw the state of Arkansas. That would be what I drew. It's just So that was terrible. Glad they got rid of it.
By the way, Quinn, I ranked the top 5 SEC basketball courts this morning. I gave Auburn an honorable mention. Like they were in consideration. In fact, I had them in my top 5 until I saw Georgia's new design. But I just want you to know that I do have an appreciation for Auburn's court.
There you go.
It's clean. It's sharp. It looks good.
There you go. Kingsley says, I'm getting to the point to where I don't mind no one in the wide receiver room becoming the guy. Maybe that means that they're all slightly above good, which has been the case for several good teams before.
Kingsley, you're our guy, dude. You're our guy. You are way, way too cool and smart and awesome of a human being to have come to this conclusion. How did this happen? How did this happen? Where you bought the bait, man. You went right into you saw that block of cheese and you were like, let me just climb up under there. Those metal spikes aren't going to get me. Let me just get that cheese. I can get in and out of there. I mean, listen, I get the premise. I really do get the premise of, force feeding one guy bad, spreading it around good. But I don't know how we get to the point of none of the guys have emerged. So that means they're all good at football. You know what I mean? Like that, those are two separate things to me. I don't know if they're not being a guy that has emerged as the top guy means that everyone is good. I don't know if those two things are the same.
I would like to have a wide receiver room that has a bona fide number one because this is the SEC, and then the rest of them are above good.
Right. Like, was it bad in 2021 when Traylon Burks was the go-to guy? Like, was that a bad thing?
No.
No. And it's again, it depends on the situation. You could use back. It's like, oh well, those wide receivers when Petrino was first here, you didn't have one go-to guy. It's like, yeah, but you also had 4 bona fide dudes at wide receiver that you knew what you were getting.
Literally.
Yeah. So it's
you would ideally you would like to have at least one guy that defenses have to pay extra attention to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got to have some help, you got to have a safety, like whatever. And maybe that'll be the case. Like maybe Omega Blake winds up being that guy because he's such a good deep threat. You got to have some extra attention to him. But if it's a situation where you're in the SEC and all of your wide receivers are just pretty good, then they're just going to go mano a mano on you. And that's going to take away from some of the other things that you're trying to do. The more, double teams you can command, the more help and attention that one guy gets, the better off the rest of your situation is going to be. It was the same thing with Landon Jackson on the defensive line last year. Did he get 18 sacks or however many people expected him to get because he was a preseason All-SEC guy? No, but he commanded an extra body every single snap that he was out there on the field, and it helped other guys out there be more effective.
Yep. And also Jason, to that point, says, I feel like CJ Brown being the fastest on the team and also the most familiar with the offense, I feel like he'll emerge more than expected.
So this is interesting. I was thinking about this when we were talking about Ian Gerard, and we were like, how we just haven't heard anything about him, good or bad, but he's a guy that's consistently there as a starter. CJ Brown kind of fit that description until the other day when Bobby mentioned, hey, yeah, he's the fastest guy. He knows the offense well and like all this. And so I think there's a case to be made for Ian Gerard of like, hey, maybe he's just the CJ Brown of defense, where he's a guy that we're not talking about because we all kind of know he's starting, but maybe hasn't gotten this buzz as this guy that's breaking out, but he's going to be a very dependable starter for them. Mm-hmm. CJ Brown's definitely an interesting guy because he was a guy that I went into camp being like, I'd love to hear that he emerged. And we didn't necessarily hear that until Bobby mentioned him the other day. Would love to hear him catch a touchdown or two in the scrimmage. I'm tentatively pro CJ Brown.
Yep.
Me too. I'm with you on that.
I am too. Also too, let's see real quick. Coach Quinn keeps doing super chats. Appreciate it, man. He says, we are a top 20 program historically. So I'm looking at competing for championships. The program has no excuse to have less than 8 wins a year. And this program has been in hell for the last 5 years, which I didn't know this, guys. And I'm sorry, Quinn, but did you know that Auburn is one of the teams in college football that has gone the longest without being ranked in the top 25 AP poll?
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. I'm pulling up the graphic now to make sure that, so
teams.
So get this, the longest active AP poll droughts. Okay. Rutgers is number 1 and by far 201 weeks for them. But number 10 overall is Auburn, 55 straight weeks without being ranked in the top 25 in the AP poll.
And that's weeks of a ranking, not of real life, because 55 weeks is like a year.
Right. Yeah. They would have 2021 was the last time they were ranked in the AP poll, was in 55 weeks. So
it blows me away.
Crazy is 2021, they ended up going 6-6.
Mm-hmm. And to put that in another perspective, they're the highest or the longest drought of any SEC team. Wow. So yeah, pretty rough.
Sucks.
Pretty rough. Sorry, Quinn. Just wanted to bring that up. If you ever feel bad. Also, Quinn just said, thank you, Curtis. I appreciate it. So there you go.
You're welcome. Yeah. Respect to the jungle, man.
Yeah. Real quick, Evan says also, I think the Ole Miss game is huge for us this season. If they win that, they start 4-0. They have a decent shot at 8 wins. If they start 4-0, I'll be pissed if they don't win 8 games. That's how I'll feel. I was like, if they start 4-0, that means they just have to win half of their games left. Yeah. I'd be very upset if they didn't do that.
Is this too early to be like the biggest swing game of the year? Because I'm kind of with you. I mean, it's a huge momentum type of game there. Because you could lose that game and still get out of that, get to that first bye week in okay shape, but probably looking at 3-2 or whatever, and then you're staring down the rest of that SEC schedule like, we'll see. But winning that one, and getting to 4, there's something to be said for a huge momentum play like that. It might be the biggest swing game of the year for me.
I think Evan's onto something here. It always cracks me up when people say there is no path to XYZ. And I've seen people say that with both ways. I've seen some people being like, oh, there's no way this team goes 4-8. And it's like, well, no, there's a path to it. Trust me, there is. And then I see some people that's like, there's no path to 7-5 or 8-4 or whatever. And it's like, there's a path. You can say it's unlikely, but it's like the path would include, like he says, beating Ole Miss on the road with a first-year starting quarterback, and you catch them early in the year where maybe they don't have that offense firing on all cylinders. And then I think that you go into that stretch of like, because it's like Notre Dame, Tennessee, A&M, and Auburn, I think, 4 in a row right there. I don't even know if I got the order right, but those 4 games right in a row, I think you kind of have to go like 2-2 in that. Like whatever the best version of Arkansas season probably includes 2-2 in that. And then if you win that Ole Miss game, then yeah, you're pretty much going 8-4. Now, again, we can argue about the likelihood and the legitimacy, but it's like that is the path. Is beating Ole Miss early is going to spark, if whatever the best version of Arkansas season is, probably has to have that win.
Yeah, because then suddenly it opens it up to where, just think about, you haven't played any SEC home games yet, and I'm not saying all 4 of those SEC home games you're going to win, but you should win at least 2, maybe 3 of them. And then if you could just steal one on the road, it sets up for it. It sets up for it. But we got to get to that point first before we start going down that road. Yeah. And Hogslop just comes in here and says, any issues on the defense are speculative. Also says, what are the very obvious issues? All we have heard from the defense is good.
Yeah, they're great, man.
From when? Ooh.
So Hogslop, I'm I respect you listening to the show. We appreciate the passion, the fandom, and all that. I feel like the only way to come to this conclusion would be if you just truly ignored every piece of evidence that points to the contrary. And when I say every piece of evidence, there is plenty of it. And look no further than literally Saturday when the head coach of the football team, Sam Pittman, gets up there and is like, yeah, we had a ton of breakdowns in the secondary, bunch of communication issues. We couldn't get a pass rush. This guy scored a 70-yard touchdown. This guy scored a 70-yard touchdown. Mike Washington had a 40-yard touchdown. Like, that would be, again, you're saying every issue is speculative. I don't believe that's speculation. I also don't believe it's speculation that they were 15th in the SEC last year in scoring defense. I don't think it's speculation that they were 13th in the SEC in yardage. And that was with the benefit of facing like 3 backup quarterbacks and a couple injured guys and, having some breaks go your way. And of course you got the overinflated Ole Miss game and all that, but it's like, that's not speculation. Like, that's what happened last year. Arkansas was one of the worst defenses in the SEC, aside from that Tennessee game for the most part. I mean, they were on paper one of the worst in the SEC. So going into this year, there's a lot of questions about, hey, is Arkansas going to improve? If they are, what's the path to that? And again, we can have those conversations and you can make the case that, hey, the linebackers are really solid, so I think they're going to be improved, like whatever. But you have to talk about the defensive line that has, of your starting defensive line, the guys that are going to start there, you have 4 career sacks among your starting defensive line. You have 4 career sacks. That is very little production. And then you have 0 depth behind that. You have 0 sacks out of your bench. It's like, and not a lot of snaps in the SEC. Only a handful of those guys have even played in the SEC. Again, this is not speculation. This is the situation. And, hey, if you want to make the argument and say, well, despite the fact that they don't have experience in proven production, I think this guy's going to be good, that guy's going to be good. Fair. We can have that conversation, but it doesn't make it speculation to be like, hey, this defense has questions to answer. The secondary, which basically had a complete overhaul with the transfer portal, which they did last year, and it didn't really work out, and they gave up a ton of yards on Saturday. Like, those are questions. Arkansas very well may have answers to those questions, but those are questions, and it's not speculation to be like, hey, what if, the defense that really struggled last year and has, less talent than most of the SEC schools, like, what if they struggle again? Like, that's not speculation. That's just kind of the situation we're in, and we'll see how they handle it.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose battle that we fight here on a daily basis, man. It really is. This team was picked 14th in the SEC. We didn't pick them there. The people that evaluate rosters and cover this sport inside and out on a daily basis did that. It is a group of media. It was a group of the coaches and their peers within the league who look at these rosters, who did that and been pretty clear and open and transparent and saying, this team could be better than that. Yeah, they're probably better than 14th in the SEC. But to bring up legitimate questions or concerns for that, it's not negativity. It's not hate. Do you want us to lie to you? Like if every single position group was stacked and there were no questions and everybody was a standout and everybody was balling, they would be picked 14th in the country, not 14th in the SEC. So I don't understand why, anytime there's a conversation about where they might have some question marks, that it's like the end of the damn world over here with some people. It's legitimate.
Yeah.
They got to go out there and prove it on the field. You got to go out there and play. And hopefully they are better in some of these spots. But just pointing out the areas to say, hey, this is why they're picked where they're picked. They're going to have to outperform expectations there. It's not negativity. The shit drives me nuts, man. And we deal with it every single day. It's crazy to me. You have 0 proven pass rush. You have 1 proven defensive tackle on an SEC defensive line. You went and flipped your secondary, and you got 3 guys who got benched on SEC teams within the last couple of years that you're relying on to not do that this season. It's okay to have questions and to point those things out. Shit drives me nuts, man. It really drives me nuts. Well,
and to the point, I think I even talked about this on my Locked On this morning. It's like I went through most of the, everyone's going to have their opinion, but it's like if you go through ESPN or CBS Sports or On3 or Rivals or whoever you go through, it's like the highest pick I saw for when they did their SEC rankings and everything for Arkansas was like 13th, 12th or 13th. I mean, that was the highest. So it's like, it's not because people are anti-Arkansas or that they're just hoping Arkansas fails and that they suck. It's what the reality is. It's where it's at. So, it's unfortunate because, you want them to be good and everything, but we only know what we know. And that's kind of what we talked about in the very beginning of this podcast and this live stream today. It's like what we've known is like the defense has not looked good. It's plain and simple. I mean, they gave up huge plays last Saturday. They've had issues with the pass rush. They have issues with communication. Now, can some of those things get better and fixed? Maybe. But what we know right now is it's not good. It's just not good of what we know right now. So, but yeah, I'm with you on that.
I just want the records to show that yesterday, John and I were accused of being too pro Sam Pittman. Yesterday, we were doing the exact opposite battle where people were like, man, y'all are just giving Pittman way too much credit, man. And so, just
and then the day before you were getting hit with the, the always the Debbie Downer, the gloom and doom guy. It's whatever.
No,
we're just going to bitch no matter what.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. We got a lot of people with the different opinions each and every day, it feels like. So I tell you what, though, we will continue to get into your chats a little bit, but I did want people's opinions on this for your Alumni Hall question today, presented by our friends at Alumni Hall, Ultimate Razorback Shopping Experience. 2 weeks from today, we are going to be live from Alumni Hall there in Fayetteville, 3417 North College Avenue. Come by and see us. We're going to have some giveaways, getting ready for Razorback football and their season opener against Alabama A&M. We'll be there from 12 to 2. You can definitely get all of the new apparel that they have in stock for football season at InsideArkansas.com/alumni hall. Use that promo code HOGSBY20 for 20% off. But guys, the thing is like today there was a major, if you want to call it a breaking news, but Michigan got hit with penalties for all of the stuff that happened with the Connor Stallion situation, all of that nonsense. And basically just to put it to what they got hit with as far as the punishments go, 4 years probation, $50,000 fine plus 10% of football team's budget, which is a total equation of $20 million over the next 2 seasons. They also had a fine equivalent of 10% of football scholarships, 25% reduction in football official visits, 14-week probation. It doesn't matter. Basically, they got nothing at all. And it's just they won a championship. They didn't get any postseason bans, no wins vacated, nothing like that. So I'm curious for all you fans out there and for everybody, would you be okay if Arkansas cheated, the Razorback athletic program cheated, if it meant getting a championship, or even if it didn't mean giving a championship? But are you okay with them cheating, at least in the way of the NCAA and ways that Michigan and everybody has done?
Yes, cheat. There's no consequences out there. What are you, a bunch of moral orals? You got some guilty consciences that you can't get past? No, nobody cares. Nobody cares about anything that just happened to Michigan. Nobody cares about the fine that they have to pay. Nobody gives a damn about Harbaugh's show cause. You know what they care about? They got a ring. They won a championship. The end. You think Michigan fans are trying to turn it back in? If it gets vacated like Louisville's title did do you think they care about that? just because they had to take down the banner that it's not real to them. Cheat. Please do. We've been begging for that. We just get stuck in this moral high ground, and that's why you're at where you're at. So yes, but please cheat. I would love for Arkansas to do plenty of that.
I mean, listen, would you rather have John Calipari or would you rather have Mike Anderson?
Exactly.
And listen, we all love Mike Anderson. We all, like, seriously, like, I genuinely admire him and respect him. I love the job he did at Arkansas for the most part. I think he took over a bad situation and he made it better, all that. Like, there's a ceiling when you do things a certain way. And, like, listen, perfectly, like, I respect any coach or man that's just like, hey, I'm not going to cut any corners. I'm not going to think outside the box. I'm not going to do anything creative. I'm just going to, like, show up and just do it the bare bones way. You have a ceiling as a program in college sports. And if I know that may sound bad, but it's like, that's the reality of what college athletics have been for as long as I can remember. I mean, I'm 27. I've never lived in a world where cheating has not existed very prominently in college sports. And we all know that. And obviously there's some people that cheat more obviously than others. There's some that, pay players under the table. There's some that steal signs. There's some that do whatever. It's like, and listen, we can draw the line wherever we want, but it's like, again, if there's not going to be consequences for it, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what is cheating also? Because again, there's all these NIL deals that are being cut. I would say the vast majority of them are being cut in an illegal way, where it's literally a pay-for-play thing that is kind of a on paper NIL whatever. Like, is that cheating? Is looking at the coach's sideline and reviewing the game footage and trying to find their signals. Is that cheating? You know what I mean? It's like it's a very gray area. It's a very vague thing. And I'm totally with you. I mean, like, literally, I know Reggie Bush might not have the trophy, but it's like that dude won the Heisman. And like, I vividly remember growing up watching Reggie Bush and thinking he was the man. And like, when I think of Reggie Bush, I think Heisman, I think a national champion, I think all these things. Michigan fans, those memories that they built that year do not go away. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. I mean, hell, if it turns out that LSU baseball, did something horrible and they hid all these skeletons in the closet and, hey, they wind up vacating that 2025 championship game. Is it going to remove the pit in our stomach that we had? Are we going to feel better and say, yes, we did not have our season ended by the national champions? No, I was still miserable in that moment. I'm still miserable now. You know what I mean? Like these things, that's real life. Cheating is not real life. What the things that the moments that happen, that's real life.
Well, to me, the biggest difference, and because I agree with you guys, yes, cheat completely and go crazy with it, because there's no, like, that's the thing about it. Is it really cheating or against the rules if there's no consequences for breaking them? And you can sit here and you can say that, oh, these are consequences. Yeah, sure. But the crime doesn't fit the punishment. Like, there's no way that you look at that and you're like, oh man, $20 million over a 2-year span for Michigan. That's nothing. Like, that is a drop in the pan for them. And they didn't get anything vacated. They have a show cause for coaches that aren't even there anymore. Harbaugh's just hanging out in the NFL. Like, all right, I'm cool. Like, Connor Stallions threw his phone in a pond and just was like admitted to it. It was like just deleting everything. He threw his film in a pond. He got an 8-year show cause. Like, who cares? Who gives a rip? And I am always about this, and I have been for a long time, because again, like, to y'all's point, if Arkansas won a national championship in football and then 5 years later got it vacated or any of these punishments, not a single one of you are going to be like, you know what? I enjoyed that so much, but now I'm disgusted and I feel disgraced that I enjoyed that. Not a one of you is going to do that. Okay, how about this, Quinn? When Cam Newton was going through all that stuff, which was, the subtlety of a baboon is what this guy was cheating on, when it was like, oh, I needed $180,000 to go to Mississippi State, but I'm going to Auburn for free. Everyone knew that was going on. But did any Auburn fan be like, man, if that would have gotten taken away, or if that would have been like, oh, man, that doesn't count? No. Because it's about, still, as a fan, now you can talk about the universities and the athletic department and all that, but as a fan, you still had the memory, you still had the feelings, you still had all of that. If 30 years will go after the fact, if Arkansas had something happen where they got their 1994 national championship taken away, you Razorback fans, are you really going to just delete it from your memory and say, that was terrible? No. So the point is, cheat all the time, do whatever it takes to win. nonstop. Real quick, fun story about that before get back to you guys. I'll never forget it, that I once said this on the radio, and the athletic director at the time, Jeff Long, called me because I said that Arkansas should cheat, and he was very disappointed in me and saying that that should never happen. And I just simply responded with, I understand you can't say it, but I can. And I believe that if you're not cheating, you ain't trying. And seeing that there's never anything that happens except for maybe SMU 50 years ago when they got the death penalty, nobody gets punished. I mean, North Carolina made up a class and nothing happened. So why not? Do what you need to do whatever it takes to win. That's how I feel.
Y'all remember when Cam Ball, this whole story that's been going on this week about how Cam Ball got, offered money by all these other schools, and everyone in the collective Razorback fan base is like, somebody would contact a player on another team and try and get them to come. Y'all really, I'm serious. In whatever sport, football, basketball, baseball, softball, gymnastics, whatever, do y'all think every single transfer that's come to the University of Arkansas did so out of the goodness of their heart? And they just were like, you know what? I just think this is the place. I waited. I entered the portal. They waited 3 days. They contacted me, and then here's what happened. Whoever your favorite coach is at the U of A tampers like a MFer. Every single one of them. They all do. And by the way, they're smart to do it for all these same reasons. Hell, we were talking about it with Fernando Carmona, who stepped on a kid's neck, by the way. We were talking about holding and how there's holding every single play and it doesn't get called every time. That right there is a very microcosm. That's a very small example. But anyone that thinks that this stuff is not happening on a small and large scale is living in Candyland.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I wouldn't feel any better about an Arkansas national championship if John Calipari or Sam Pittman or whoever was standing up there at the podium with the confetti saying, but we did it the right way. We didn't have to cheat to get it. We didn't have to stretch any line. We didn't have to break any rules to get there. But I do get very irritated when we hear the complaining and pissing and moaning about other teams cheating and us not being willing to do it. Other teams, doing the pay for play thing and us not being willing to do it. So maybe that makes me a POS, but
yeah. If y'all were sitting there waving the Hawaiian flags and doing the beach theme stuff when Vahiva Aloy would hit a home run, you're part of the problem. You think Vahiva Aloy was just chilling in his house in Sacramento in his apartment and was like, what would be cool if I entered the portal and went to Arkansas? That'd be sick.
Yeah. I have zero shame. I do not care.
No. Because honestly, I'll take it even a step further. Find me a team that has probably won a championship that didn't cheat in some capacity. Was it Shane Gillis that made that joke to Alabama Jones, what he called Nick Saban when they were on the College Game Day set? And he's like, no. He's like, no, there's never an SEC team that cheated to win. And you could tell it was so uncomfortable, but it was like, that's exactly right. Like, Nick said, we did things the right way. Come on, Nick. Come on, man. It's this idea that I remember I got into arguments with the Kentucky guys back when Malik Monk went to Kentucky. Because they were just like, these players come to Kentucky because they want to play at the Mecca of college basketball. No, they don't. They did not they weren't getting offered $1 million to go to Duke or to Kansas or anything, but they went to Kentucky for free $99, for a thing of Lunchables and a Capri Sun because they just wanted to play for the Mecca. That's not a thing, and it's never going to be a thing. It's just never going to happen. So it just cracks me up when people try to justify it. If you're winning at a high level and you're winning championships, you are cheating. Plain and simple. That's how it is.
and make no mistake here, Woo MF Pig. The reason you don't hear about it is because when your buddy has had a few drinks and he drives home from the bar, he doesn't put it on his Facebook page because he's breaking the law. And when you break the law, you don't advertise it. You don't tell people. And so how stupid would it be if Arkansas got a transfer commit for football, and we were hopping in, and we were like, man, thank God they reached out to that guy before the season ended, man. Thank God. Well, there's a lot of people who truly believe that Arkansas football does not poach players. They think they don't contact other schools and reach out to some of these guys. They think David Oakey was just chilling at Abilene Christian and was just like, you know what? Let me go be a hog. I feel that in my bones. I want to be a hog. It's like literally just because the players stink doesn't mean they weren't poached. You know what I mean? There's been several. I mean, literally almost every player on the roster, I feel like that's a transfer. Most of those conversations happen before the guy enters the portal. Same way in NBA free agency. The clock strikes midnight, and now the teams are allowed to contact the players. That Woj tweet goes out at 12:01. They didn't cut the deal at 12:00. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it was like it's a lot of times these things happen. People jump the gun on these things, and it's just kind of the world we live in. But make no mistake, Arkansas, even in football, is not refusing to do it. They do it. They just don't do it as well.
Well, let me ask you. I'm going to ask you this, Andrew. Does Dave Van Horn cheat?
1,000%. Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
You're talking about, yeah, he cheats.
Yeah,
I love that we are all very passionate about cheating.
Great.
I mean, well, it's just funny because it's like you hear people saying stuff about how it's like, it's like such a frowned upon thing. And they're like, well, thank God we don't do that at Arkansas. Or people saying, hey, I wish we did it at Arkansas. It's like, buddy, like this is like the world we live in. Arkansas has been living in that world for a long time.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to the like punishment fitting the crime. If it was something to where people actually got legitimately punished and it was legitimately suffered consequences, then it would be a different thing. But it's not, and it never has been. It was almost like when they gave the death penalty to SMU, it was like, we can't do that ever again. So they're just never going to do something. Like there's so many examples. What was it? Oklahoma State got that ban for a postseason for a year in basketball because of something absurd. But then somebody else did something and it was like, it's nothing. It's just there's no consistency to it.
What's that saying that's like when the NCAA is mad at so and so, they put sanctions on. You know what I mean? Like there's a saying that's like, oh, when they want to punish, North Carolina, they crack down on this random D2 school or whatever. There's a lot of that goes around too.
Mm-hmm. So Oklahoma State and like SMU, I remember when Larry Brown was there, got hit with something that was just over the top ridiculous. And it's so there's just no consistencies for it. That's really what it comes down to. But glad we're all on the same page. Again, it's not cheating if you don't get caught. That's the way
most
it goes.
aligned we've ever been on this show before.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll have more of your chats, folks. Appreciate everybody tuning in, but want to remind everybody that one of our newest sponsors here on Inside Arkansas, shout out to Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. A lot of you who love to have your house decorated for the holidays, especially with Halloween and with Christmas. It's a lot of work. If you've never tried to do it, don't have professionals do it because it's a lot of work. You don't have time. You want it to look good. You want it to be professionally done. Well, let the people of Walter Christmas Lighting help you out. If you're in the Northwest Arkansas or in the River Valley area, the areas that they serve, they will install these lights with professionalism and they provide all the materials. They can do any color, any pattern for you. They also install the lights themselves. You get free maintenance on the lights throughout the entire holiday season. And if you sign up for Halloween lights to get done at your home, you will also get your Christmas lights for 50% off. Can't get a better deal than that. So text our guy Brett for a free estimate today at 479-459-1380. That's 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or their Facebook page. Scan that QR code right there. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Okay, so continuing on and getting into some of the chats here, folks, because I know we got some other things that we'll get into before we get wrapped up here for the week. But did want to bring up where was it at? Okay, because we've had some super chats come in through here, like Shark and Sauce coming in and saying, small donation to my favorite Sam Pittman hating sunshine pumpers. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Shark and Sauce. You're welcome.
Why can't we just make everybody happy?
That's a good term right there. Sam Pittman hating sunshine pumpers. I feel like that's pretty good.
It's all encompassing. Name of the show. Put on a t-shirt. Timothy says, appreciate the super chat, says they can take the wins off the record, but they can't take away the memories. Do what you got to do to get to the chip.
Exactly. Amen, brother.
The babies that are conceived on the night of the celebration are still going to exist.
Exactly. That's right.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Let's see. Also, JM Scott says probably wouldn't win if we did cheat. Crying, laughing emoji. Go Hogs. Well, that did make me laugh. I saw Brett McMurphy tweet out that he's like, what program would not pay $20 million for a national championship if that's what it meant? And then my buddy Brennan just said Arkansas. He replied, I was like, yeah, that's true. Like they'd be the one program that wouldn't do it. They'd be like, no. And you should be happy, Curtis. I almost brought up the Cardinal way because I'm like, that's what always pissed me off about the Cardinal way is when people would, not you, but others would be like, hey, we do things the right way. I'm like, okay, well, they're the ones raising the trophy. So, I mean, they did it okay too, I would say.
It's like when Batman refuses to kill people and you're like, but you'll, completely break every bone in their body and hospitalize them, paralyze them. But it's like, hey, but he won't kill though. Will not kill.
See, were you going to say something, Curtis?
No, okay. It's just true.
Okay.
the Cardinal way and the Razorback way are far too similar right now. And it's a tough existence. I think it was Finch. I'm pretty sure it was Finch earlier in the chat that I saw mention that. And it's tough. When you root for both right now, it's easy to get heated pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Let's see. Also, Quinn, speaking of, said the FBI didn't find nothing, and F the NCAA, that authoritarian, corrupt agency as bad as our government.
Oh, man.
So, okay. Appreciate it, Quinn. And then Quinn
hey, your
said,
basketball coach is about to be the governor or whatever. So
yeah, it's true. It's true. Running for office. He also said Nick taught Kirby all the tricks. The two biggest cheaters in college football history.
Dude, do you remember whenever Nick Saban got like really weird on the game day last year when Shane Gillis was like making cheating jokes and Saban was like not laughing at all?
Yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah.
Super awkward.
That's right. Also, too, this goes meant to bring this up too from Hogblitz. It says, hey, John, the biggest games are road trips to Ole Miss and Memphis. We lose both, and we were talking about coaching replacements since on October, which I actually do kind of agree to as well. But not Mike saying, okay, he's fired right now, let's do it. But if that happens, if they lose to Ole Miss and Memphis and they're 2-2, then yeah, it's going to look pretty grim with Notre Dame coming up next. It's just the reality.
Yeah.
So, also too, I wanted to address this. Chandler says, John, where's my shirt? I've been waiting for a week. Okay. Give me a second. All right. I had to find your size. Got your size. They're going out today. You'll have them soon. So you'll get Nick.
You size shaming?
No, I'm just saying that we may have been short on sizes for his certain size is all. So I had to
just get a little bit further down. Chandler said he might have to hit up Hickey and Hole.
Yes. Well, I'm sure they'll help you out if you want to file a lawsuit against your free shirt that we're sending you. So yeah, that's by the way, members only stream is what that came from, folks.
Yeah.
So
you'll get it if you're a member.
That's right.
And by the way, in case you're wondering about the bang you get for your buck here as an advertiser or sponsor with Inside Arkansas, we got folks in here in the chat referencing them every day.
That's right.
So
that's right.
They know who you are.
Say we may tell you all about them each and every day, but you're going to remember them each and every day too. So, but also. Heartbroken Hawk says, John, I liked your idea on Locked On Razorbacks this morning that we should do the Woo Pig Suey at the tip of basketball games. Also, why did you title the episode like fall camp is over? I guess I didn't even realize that it did kind of look like fall camp was over, but
it is.
Yeah. I mean, our fall camp is over because, like we've talked about, there's no more open practices or anything. It's just done. Like we're not going to have any more information until really the season starts.
And after this scrimmage, there is going to be a shift in the way that they do things at practice. Like you're getting to the point where now you're going to like identify a scout team and all that's going to be changed. And then they'll start, putting in some stuff for maybe not necessarily Alabama A&M, but they do look ahead stuff. Like they'll start putting in a few things for like Ole Miss and Notre Dame. And then you're getting into game week. So yeah, the camp aspect of it here is pretty much done, and school's getting ready to start, and that's kind of when they break camp. But yeah,
the threes are no longer getting reps in fastball. It is now officially Alabama A&M will be on the clock Monday. So yeah, fall camp pretty much. Sam Pittman, at least according to Sam Pittman, that's what he always says. This is basically the end of fall camp.
Yep. Also, by the way, what do y'all think? The reason I brought that up is because talking about the Woo Pig Suey, you got the kickoffs, for football. I feel like it's cool when they woo, and then as soon as the ball kicks, it's Pig Suey. Like I felt like, at least when I was a student section in basketball, I tried to do it for tip-off, and it started for a bit, but of course it got taken away because you get new marketing people from Stetson that come in and be like, what's the NBA doing? But I feel like that'd be cool for that and for baseball, like first pitch, like woo, and then as soon as first pitch thrown, Pig Suey. I feel like that'd be a pretty common, good branding thing,
I like both of those ideas a lot, actually. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've thought about that too with tip-off at the basketball game. But instead, they just got to blare, whoop that trick right before the jump ball.
Yeah, I like that. Baseball, it works too, because you're always at home throwing the first pitch, and so yeah, I'm all for that.
Unless Andrew, it's a super regional, and you're the road team, so
yeah. In which case, you'll just have to watch Mike Anu's first pitch home run he'll ruin the Woo Pig chant.
Yeah. But no, I've just always felt like that's something just where it happens all the time. So let's just let's make it a thing. Let's make it a thing. We're always talking about what not to make the atmosphere better. I promise you that'll get really everybody on board, and everybody will be on the same page for that. too. Also, I didn't realize it was so controversial, and also with the thing of like Dixieland Delight. I don't know. I was just having some thoughts in my mind, and then I just pissed off people who just started insulting my appearance. And I'm like, man, how does this get to this point where I'm just like, here's a Razorback thing I'd like to have happen, and suddenly I'm getting talked about with my eyebrows, the makeup that I apparently wear. Some guy says I have a bunch of feminine energy, whatever that means, and so it was just like, all right, well, my bad. Like it was just crazy. Yeah, he said, name's Johnny. Goes, this neighbor's guy has more feminine energy than I'm comfortable with, so I'm really not trying to defend him. Oh, it's because I didn't use the actual F word in my tweet, and people were ripping me some were ripping me because I didn't actually say the F word. I'm like,
what'd you say?
Just said F. Like,
oh,
he must have had that Patriots cheerleader.
Yeah, it's like.
Did you see the AI generated Bobby Petrino telling you to do 20 push-ups that I got tagged in as well?
What? No, where is that?
I would love to just
play it.
I would love to play it, but I don't want to do that to, like.
No, well, I mean, is it something that's really offensive?
No, I mean, no, like you're in it, but.
Oh, well, what find it. Okay. I did not see that. Where is that?
We can carry on, and I'm gonna get the video ready here, and then we'll
get the video. I'm gonna.
Right. I'm on it now.
Yeah, because it's funny because somebody will be like, man, I don't want to say this because this is what's. I'm like, dude, I have heard it all at this point. If it's insulting to me, it really does not bother me whatsoever. Like, I've heard it all. Just as long as you don't use any of my family members' names, that's the one thing that just cannot fly. But for everything else, I do not care. Like, I mean, it's just part of the deal. So, but thanks, John Trimble, by the way, says this is the best Razorback sports podcast out there. These guys do their homework. Hashtag WPS. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do our homework. We are big homework guys. We always come prepared to class, ready for our tests or daily quizzes.
You never know when we're going to have to yell at a chatter. So if you're going to yell at a chatter, you got to have your facts backed up,
Yeah. Yeah. So get some facts and come back and see me. Get some facts and come back and see me. Also, Ace says, hey, John, since you're passionate about not taking Alabama song, what would be your song for a badass war song to be? Well, first off, it's not that I'm not passionate. I'm just saying if people insist upon using Dixieland Delight and having their own version of it, don't use the same version that Alabama uses. I feel like that's like you talk about because they say F Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. It's like, I mean, you could, but are those the teams you hate the most? That's why I said you should say F Texas and LSU and A&M too. Be like, that'd be good.
But don't Hog fans say something completely different?
So that's what I'm saying. They should, but I feel like everyone's all over the place. Like nobody really knows what to say.
They do the all night long, and what else do they say?
Yeah,
they do something, but it's like not an F team thing. They just like sing the song, and there's like a chant.
Woo pig, yeah, pretty much, or something to that extent. Yeah. So okay, so is this the video?
This is the video.
Okay, let's see how this goes.
Give me 20, John. I'm BMFFP.
What in the world? Who tweeted this? Who made this?
Hang on. It was somebody named Jonathan on Twitter, and it was under your Locked On thing, and he also tagged me in it with you. So
because as one would, got to make sure Curtis sees it too. We can't just have me seeing it, which I'm glad he did because I did not see this. I won't say that's hilarious, but that is definitely odd. Yeah, so it's saying play it again. I need to play it
one more spin.
Yeah.
Drop and give me 20, John. I'm BMFFP.
That Rod Hog looking good, man, in AI.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So, okay, that's Clarice, I'm so glad that you gave that to me. The reason is I just clicked on it. It was one of those things where he says probable spam, It was a probable spam tweet. So my goodness. AI is out of control.
The best stuff you'll find on Twitter is behind probable spam.
Yeah, that's true. That's golly. Okay. Well, all right. Good to know. On some other notes, some house cleaning notes. I didn't want to give a shout out because I told him I would give a shout out to our guy, Chef Boyardee. Today is his birthday. So happy birthday, Chef Boyardee. and it's as well as his son's birthday. They share a birthday.
No way.
So he's turning 31. His son's turning 3. So happy birthday, Chef Boyardee.
That's awesome. Big time. Happy birthdays.
Yep. And so I had to do that. Also, shout out to Whitty for the super chat. Appreciate it. Says making my son do everything left-handed and down gallons of chocolate milk. So he's throwing gas by 9 years old, and Andrew interviewed him by 13.
Yeah, there was some, I can't remember who it was. There's some kid that's like throwing 98 as a child. And they were asking him how he's throwing so hard. And he's like, chocolate milk, dude. It's what I drink all the time. And so that's apparently what you got to do if you want your kid to be in the show. Chocolate milk.
Mm-hmm. Chocolate milk. Mix it with beet juice, both, and then you'll be all right.
There you go. Yeah.
Camo Gang says Ozempic neighbors. Okay. It's like, I don't know what isn't Ozempic the thing that's supposed to make you lose weight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess in that AI video, you look trim.
Very thin. Very, very thin.
Well, I'm
almost unhealthy.
So. Yeah. I don't know. I want to do that. Jeez. Yeah. I'm glad. Again, this is Friday's show. Who cares? We're rolling it in anyways. A few other things real quick. Did want to bring this up. Not that.
No,
not that. That would have been something actually to bring up. But no, give a shout out to our new interns that we have brought on board. We announced it this morning. Of course, intern Reagan's going to be continuing on with us. But shout out to our new intern Cameron Green, and intern Presley Abercrombie's. They're going to be helping us out this fall semester here at Inside Arkansas. We'll also have another announcement for another intern here very soon. But just want to give them some love and some praise, and look forward to having them on board. And they came to us because they were like, man, what you guys do, really cool. And we want to be a part of it and help it out. So looking forward to having them a part of it. And, some of them will be mainly doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but some of them may crack the camera a little bit and you'll get to see their faces. But either way, just excited to have them on board, excited to have them be a part of it each and every day here with us at Inside Arkansas.
We're excited that our interns are excited about what we do. A perfect transition from AI generated John Neighbors and Bobby Petrino to that.
I tell you,
I like that a lot. But no, excited. It's always nice to have some helping hands, and we enjoy getting to know them and talking to them through the interview process and everything. So gonna be good stuff. And like you said, we got more to come there. So very cool.
Our web continues to grow.
That's right.
We're looking like Charlotte over here, and I just look forward to the opportunity to mentor these young minds.
That's right. Molding them for the successes of the future and of media, because that's what we are, and that's what we're going to try to do and try to accomplish. But
it ain't gonna be no Mickey Mouse program, though. I hope they're ready. It's going to be intense. It's going to be hostile. It's going to be they better be ready.
All right.
Yeah.
Got to bring stuff from Smitty, a super chat. He says, I cheated on the members only stream to win a bombastic shirt. I never reached out to get it because I felt bad, but you can give it away now.
Well, it seems like, dude, all the baseball trivia questions, it seems like people cheated to get. Shout out to Jakota, new father. His integrity was in question on the baseball trivia.
You just did a full segment about how cheating is okay, right? So you should.
We to shame.
We did decide to give him the shirt. We were like, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: I'm not going to give it away now. But how about this? Our next members only stream, which will be next month, we're going to do a monthly. Become a member, and you'll have a chance to win. And if you're not a member, it's very easy to do right there on YouTube. Just become a member. It's $4.99 a month. It's not something that we require. We don't do it for like, okay, we're only going to give you exclusive content by doing that. It's just something that helps support us, and that when we do these live streams, we give back. So we have giveaways, and we just like to show our appreciation. But you have to be a member to be a part of them. And we dive into some pretty, real in-depth stuff, personal stories, fantasies, if you will. So that's, the things that we really dive into, the most important stuff. So either way, it's a lot of fun, but we really appreciate it. And again, as a reminder, folks, tomorrow after the scrimmage, 12:30, 1 o'clock, somewhere in there, early afternoon, we're going to be doing another live stream for the Inside Arkansas Football, recapping the scrimmage after hearing from Sam Pittman. So be sure to tune in for that. So guys, before we roll out of here, any final thoughts?
Nah. Gave away a lot of thoughts today. Thought it out.
Wow. Yeah, I don't have any final thoughts other than got an episode of the Bombastic Podcast coming out today. Check that out. Woo damn pig. Love you, boys.
There you go. And my final thought is the same one as yesterday. I just want to remind everybody on August 25th, We are partnering with the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Arkansas and North Louisiana, where they're providing comfort and care to families with ill or injured children. This is a great cause, and we are very fortunate to be a part of that partnership here. And they're going to be playing not only at Little Rock at the Pleasant Valley Country Club down there, but also at Rogers at the Pinnacle Country Club. We'll actually be up there for a little bit and telling you all about it. But spots are filling up fast. So if you want to be a part of the great golf tournament, golf event that goes to helping out kids and families that need it the most, be sure to check them out and sign up today at rmhcarkansas.org/events. That's rmhcarkansas.org/events, or you can scan that QR code. And again, great cause. It's a great event. I've been a part of it for a few years, and it's awesome. So again, that's August 25th. Proceeds from the tournament in Rogers support the Ronald McDonald House and Ronald McDonald Family Room in Northwest Arkansas. So get on that. But either way, appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into Inside Arkansas Live. Be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas. Check out our podcast in the audio form wherever podcasts are found, whether it's Inside Arkansas Live, Pod at the Palace, or the Bombastic Podcast. You can also check us out on social media at Inside Arkansas. And that'll do it for us. For Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel next week on Monday. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for the Inside Arkansas Football live stream post-scrimmage report.